Hi, this is Dungeon RPG. In this video, I will show you how to replace your Game Boy Advance cartridge's clock battery, which namely it's your Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald games. Prior to the recording of this video, I have already successfully replaced the battery on my Pokemon Ruby Japanese cartridge, and in this video I'll try to replicate the results for my Pokemon Sapphire cartridge, which is also out of battery. And before we start, let's go over some of the things we're going to need. We're going to need a tri-wing screwdriver, and that is for loosening the screw on the back of the cartridge and opening up the cartridge. And we're also going to need at least one CR 2016 lithium battery to replace the battery that has run dry. And hopefully it will have some kind of Game Boy Advance or Nintendo DS or DS Lite system to play test the cartridge after we replace the battery. And here's some optional things you might need: a pair of forceps to manipulate the probes that's holding the battery in place, a hobby knife or any kind of flathead to pile open the two probes, and some kind of plastic tape. It doesn't have to be electric tape, just any transparent plastic tape you can find that will work, as long as all we need is for the tape to hold the new battery in place, as we're not going to be using any soldering iron in this video. And also, this is optional, it's some kind of sanding tool, which we'll get to later. And first, let's take a look at the Pokemon Ruby cartridge that I've just replaced the battery for. And if you do have a functional battery on the cartridge, you should be able to go directly into the game without seeing the battery warning. Let's hope this will work. And we just went directly through the title screen without seeing any warning for the battery has run dry, so that's good. And let's take a look at our Sapphire game. And the internal batteries run dry, the game can be played. However, clock-based events will no longer occur, which is good in this case because we're going to be working on this cartridge. So, first thing we're going to do, let's use your tri-wing screwdriver and loosen up the screw on the back of the cartridge. Be very careful, as you might end up wrecking the back of that screw and will really be screwed if you end up breaking a screw. So just be extra careful when you're loosening up the screw. Once the screw is off, and keep it somewhere safe so you don't lose it. And what you do now is you slide the lid of the cartridge forward, and it opens up just like so. And also be careful when removing the chip, because this is our cartridge. So for everything else we do after this, just be extra careful not to cause any damage to the cartridge itself. Otherwise you'll have a dead cartridge and you'll have a hell of a time trying to find an authentic Ruby and Sapphire cartridge these days. And what we see here, this is the old battery that has run dry, and on both the top and the bottom there's two metal probes that's holding the battery in place, that's been held together by some kind of conductive adhesive that we'll try to remove later. And what you'll notice now is that your replacement battery might be a different size compared to the original one that's on the cartridge. That's completely normal, don't panic right now. And as long as it is a CR 2016, a 3 volt CR 2016, it will suffice our purpose. So what we're going to do next is that use the flathead, or you can use any kind of tools you want to pile open these two probes. And like I said before, just be extra careful not to cause any damage to your game cartridge, because that's pretty fatal. And that this is going to take a bit of a force, so, and again, take extra caution, and don't worry too much about breaking these probes though, because they're pretty sturdy. Now I did manage to get the top flap open, and took quite a bit of force as it's glued together pretty hard. And now let's work on the bottom flap. And now I've just successfully removed the battery from the top and bottom probes. On the battery, you'll notice there's some small letters. I think, I'm guessing that's the date for when the game is released, as September 2003. That would make sense. And my Japanese cartridge battery has October 2002, it looks like. Anyways, what you will notice is that there's some bulging part on the top and the bottom of the battery. That's when it was, I guess, must be soldered together to these metal flaps. You'll notice on both the bottom and top and bottom, there's 4 little dots. That's, I guess, that was the solder points. And now after we remove the old battery, what I would recommend is that you pop the chip back into the cartridge and put it back into your system to verify that this is still functional, because everything else we're going to do after, it's pretty useless if you have a dead chip at this point, which hopefully you don't. And the biggest challenge we're going to have now is that to put the new battery in and make sure some part of the top and bottom probe is touching the body of the battery consistently at all times. That was redundant. So if you can see these little bits that's left on the probes, they may or may not get in the way later on. So if they do, this is where the sanding comes in. You want to remove those 4 little bits. If you end up having trouble to have the battery working consistently, your best point is still to solder, but this video is to show you that this can be done without any soldering. So let's just put the battery in for now and see where it will take us without any sanding or taping or anything whatsoever. The cartridge itself should hold the battery in pretty securely. As long as you're able to close the cartridge, you can see, you can shake it, it ain't going nowhere. So let's put the cartridge back in. Chances are you're not gonna get this on the first time. I know I didn't. And it'll take a bit of trial and error to actually make the 2 probes hugging the battery tightly and consistently. And as you can see, it didn't work for us this time. So let's fix those 2 probes and we'll try again. What I did off screen was that I used the sanding tool and sanded off the glue bits from both the top and from inside both the top and bottom flap. As you can see, the probes themselves has a fairly flat surface now. Those glue bits are not protruding anymore. And I've also lowered the top flat a little bit and raised the bottom flap, so that when you put the new battery in, just the probes themselves should be able to hold the battery in place. And you can see from the vertical section that some part of the probes are indeed touching the battery, and this is what you're going for. And For something that's optional, you can use a small section of tape and try to hold the battery securely to the cartridge, and you can do this whichever way you want. You don't have to worry about being neat or anything. And because we're trying to get this functional, not to get it look pretty. And something to that effect will be sufficient. And now let's put our game back. And what you do, it's the opposite of what we did at the beginning. It's that close down the cartridge and then slide it upwards. And now we can apply the screw back onto the cartridge. Again, just be as careful as you can. So hopefully this time the battery should be able to read consistently, and let's find out. There you go. Enjoy your brand new game. Thank you for watching.